Well, good morning. A very happy Wednesday, and welcome to the John Kenera Show on YouTube, Facebook, and X. If the first time you're maybe tuning into our get together, we are on the air Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. And we go anywhere from about 45 minutes to an hour. And we certainly appreciate everyone that is already subscribed. And if you would really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel, like it, and please send in your questions. I want to throw out a question to you right from the get-go. Just kind of a fun question on this Wednesday. Padres win last night, which was oh man, that was a relief after losing four in a row. But I want to throw just a question out, just a fun question. Who's your all-time favorite baseball player? Just a very simple question. Who's your all-time favorite baseball player? It could be a Padre. It doesn't have to be a Padre. It could be a Pirate. It could be a New York Yankee. It could be a Chicago White Sox player. I've got several favorite players. Reggie Jackson was always one of my favorite players. Obviously, with the Padres, Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn, right there, is one of my favorite players, and to be able to get to know him as well as I did, fantastic. But big Reggie Jackson fan, big Dave Parker fan. I like Steve Garvey, even when he wore a Dodger uniform, let alone when he came to the Padres. I enjoyed watching him hit. Freddie Lynn, the great center fielder for the Boston Red Sox, one of my favorite players, especially when I got to meet him his rookie year back in 1975 after a ball game and got to have dinner with him, believe it or not. I was a junior in high school. Manny Sanguian, the great catcher of the Pirates, Willie Stargel. For some reason, I loved the Pirates. I loved the Pirates growing up. Even though, I was a Padre fan, I love watching those guys hit. Al Oliver, but Stargel, Parker, those guys were guys that I just love watching play. Manny Sankey and the Pirates teams back in the 70s and 80s, man, they were fun to watch. They had a bunch of dudes that could flat out hit. But, in San Diego, I mean, Tony will always be my guy for a variety of reasons. 20 years he played. He was loyal. His dad even said, Tony, you gotta get out of San Diego. You go somewhere else, they're gonna pay you a lot more money. He goes, no, Dad, I want to stay here in San Diego. Talk about loyalty. But I thought we'd have a kind of a fun time with that today. So if you want to type in your favorite player, I can probably talk about him a little bit. But Dave Parker, Reggie Jackson, a couple of my favorites. I like Thurman Munson, Carlton Fisk. A variety of different guys I really enjoyed watching play. But Reggie Jackson and Dave Parker are right up there. Dave Winfield when he was with the Padres, not so much when he left the Padres, but as a kid growing up in San Diego, Dave Winfield played the first 7 years of his career here in San Diego. So I thought we'd have a little fun with that. Want to mention the Padres last night before we get to the game. And man, they needed that win in the worst way last night. But prior to the game, as we expected, they activated two players. Luis Arraez activated off the 7-day IL concussion protocol. He got cleared. He was back in the lineup last night. And Jason Heyward dealing with that left knee inflammation. He'd been out on the 10-day IL. He was activated and played a big part in the ball game, by the way, on Tuesday night. The other roster moves they made, Yuli Gurriel, which we kind of expected. He was on borrowed time. Really, he made the team out of spring training. And I think he made the team out of spring training because a lot of guys went to bat for him. And to be fair to him, he swung the bat pretty good in spring training, right around 300, I think it was. But really, he hadn't done a whole lot in the last 3 years. He'd hit like in the 240s. And he's at the end of his career. Next birthday, he's gonna turn 41, and it was time to let him go. I mean, he was 4 for 36. He was hitting 111 with 3 RBIs, and first base, DH. You got plenty of those guys. So they let him go. They DFA'd him. I'm sure he'll clear waivers. He'll become a free agent. He's not going to go to AAA, I don't think, with the Padres. Maybe somebody else, maybe Houston will re-sign him, give him a minor league deal, and see if he can regain his stroke. But I think Father Time has caught up with Yuli Gurriel. So he's going to no longer be on the big league roster, taken off the Padre 40-man roster. And then the other move, Mason McCoy, the outstanding defender. He's got a fractured finger, or left finger sprain, they called it. And they're going to retro that to April 28th. And I'm sure when it's time for him to come off, he'll probably head back down to El Paso. But those were the roster moves prior to the game on Tuesday night. And then you get to the game last night, and man, I'll tell you what, this was a great matchup. You had Landon Webb coming in, pitching very well, had a 1.98 ERA, going against Nick Pivetta, and the Padres jumped on Landon Webb. With 2 outs in the first, Padres ended up scoring 3 runs. They had a 3-0 lead. Then it was 3-1. Then it was 5-1, and the Giants came back and pushed across 3 runs in the 6th inning to make it 5-4, and then the Padres pushed across 2 more in the 7th, and they won game 1 of the set 7-4. They out hit the Giants 11-7. Both teams committed an error. But really, in this game, there were a couple of outstanding performances, I thought. First of all, a guy that has been, I'm not going to say much maligned. He's been a line from the standpoint, he just hadn't produced the way we had hoped here in San Diego. And I'm a big Xander Bogaerts fan. He's a quality man. I watched his interview in the post game last night. Just a lot of class with this guy. And last night, Xander Bogaerts ended up hitting his first homer of the year. He pulled it down the left field line. He ended up going 3 for 4, first homer, drove in 3 runs last night, averaged at 253. Here's a guy that is a career like 285, 286 hitter. He's going to get it going at some point. Now, the power numbers have been declining. And I know the last couple of years they declined because he's missed a significant amount of time with injuries. I'm not giving up on Xander Bogaerts because the guy comes out every day. He's very diligent in his work. He works hard, probably put far too much pressure on himself. And it's not like the fan base and the media here is tough like they are in Boston. But he, I'm sure internally has put a lot of pressure on himself. But he did a great job last night, and hopefully this afternoon game today, he can build on that a little bit. The other guy that I thought had a great ball game last night, well, there were a couple, but we got to start on the mound. Nick Pivetta, he goes now to 5-1 on the year in his ERA at 1.78. His final numbers last night, folks, they were not indicative of how well I thought he pitched last night. Jeremiah Estrada came in and gave up that 2-run double to Lamont Wade Jr., who, man, see what he's hitting? He's hitting like a little over 100. And that guy's a pretty good hitter. But he rifled one down into the corner last night and drove in a couple of runs, and they were Pivetta's runs. Pivetta ended up going 5 1/3 last night, 5 hits, 3 runs, all earned a walk, 9 punch-outs, and gave up a home run. But again, I thought he pitched much better than his final line. He pitched with aggressiveness. He was attacking the hitters. He had 9 strikeouts last night. And I got to tell you, his stuff was good because he had several of those strikeouts were looking. He was fooling hitters. Fitzgerald, their little second baseman, he had all kinds of problems last night with Pivetta. So Nick did a great job. Bullpen overall, they were good. I mean, Estrada struggled last night. 2/3 of an inning, gave up 2 hits, an earned run of his own. Morahone, 1 inning, 2 strikeouts. Jason Adam, Robert Suarez. Robert Suarez looked good. And really, after they scored those 2 runs in the 7th, I thought Adam pitched great in the 8th. And then the Giants really kind of just wanted to get out of there in the 9th. And Robert Suarez mowed them down 1, 2, 3. I mean, they were swinging early in the count. He picked up his 11th save and dropped his ERA down to 0.69. In a save situation this year, he has not given up a run. You recall the game on Sunday, he gave up a run in a non-save situation when the Padres were getting beat. That's the only run he's given up so far this year. And then the other guy who, man, I'll tell you what, they told me since he's been on the IL, and I don't know if because his knee was sore and he got healthy and maybe slowed him down a little bit at the plate. Jason Heyward last night looked pretty good at the plate. I mean, last night, Jason Heyward in his first game back ended up going 2 for 4. He had a second double, a run scored, and man, that's good news. That's really good news. And the other thing, and I looked at this last night because the Padre catchers have really been scuffling. But last night when I was doing all my notes for the program today after the game, when everybody else is going to bed, I'm still working and trying to put some things together. Last night, the Padre hitters, this is the key thing, folks, and we're starting to see this with the Dodgers. Andy Pajes has gone crazy with the Dodgers. But here's the key to having a championship ball club. You've got to get contributions from the bottom third of your order. And last night, the Padres got a lot of contributions. I don't expect this every night, but the night you get it, I'll flat out take it. Last night, between Tyler Wade, Jason Heyward, and Elias Diaz, they combined to go 5 for 12 last night. Tyler Wade, 1 for 4, did strike out a couple of times, but he's doing a great job. You can't complain about the way Tyler Wade has played. How many times have we said, oh man, Tyler Wade, man, he played a bad center field. He's done a great job taking over for Jackson Merrill. Jackson's down in Arizona working on getting his way back. So Wade was 1 for 4 last night. I mentioned Jason Heyward, 2 for 4, a double. And then Elias Diaz last night, 2 for 4, and a run scored. So again, 5 for 12 last night from 7, 8, and 9. Heck, I'll take 3 for 12 in that spot. That would be great. And the guy that really struggled last night, and he did not look himself. I don't know what the deal was, Fernando, last night. He looked all out of sorts. If you were at the game or watched the game, didn't he look like there was something bugging him last night? I mean, Fernando, 0 for 5 with 2 strikeouts, and he just didn't look good. I mean, I don't know what the deal was, but his body language, his facial expressions, he something seemed to be on his mind last night. I don't know what it was. But he didn't look comfortable. I don't know, maybe he had a bad meal before the game or something. He just didn't look right to me. And normally he's playing with a lot of energy, especially that ballpark last night. It was Tony Gwynn rookie bobblehead night. Anybody going to send me a bobblehead today? My wife said to me last night, we're watching the game, she goes, man, I wish you could have got a bobblehead. I know how much it would mean to you. I go, I know, but, it is what it is. But last night, there were a lot of people that didn't get bobbleheads. In fact, 7,345 people didn't get bobbleheads. You know why? Because they had the second largest crowd in the history of Petco Park. I mean, they're jamming people in, especially into Gallagher Square. When I went to the game a few weeks ago, we went out to Gallagher Square prior to the game. Oh, my God. People are having a great time out there. There's a lot of fun out there. Hats off to the Padres. They've really made that a destination when you go to the ballpark. But last night, second largest crowd in Petco Park history. They had 47,345 fans. And that's the 15th sellout of the year. How about that? That's pretty impressive. But bottom third of the order getting the job done last night in a big way. Okay, this afternoon. Now, to me, this is a bigger game for the Padres than it is for the Giants. Because the Padres, after today, they go out and they've got a long road trip. They got a 9-game road trip that's going to take them to Pittsburgh, to Yankee Stadium, and to Coors Field. Wow. Coors Field. And we're going to get to the Rockies a little bit today as well. But this afternoon at 1:10, got a pretty good matchup. Landon Roupp can be tough. His ERA is at 4.56 right now, but he's 2-1. Good looking second-year right-hander going against right-hander Michael King, 3-1 and a 2.18. You take a look at Roupp last Thursday at Oracle Park against Milwaukee. Giants won 6-5. Roupp didn't have a good outing. He's going to be very motivated today. He had no decision in that ball game. It only lasted 3 2/3. Gave up 6 hits, 5 runs. 3 of them were earned. He had 3 walks and a couple of punch outs, but he got off the hook, and the Giants came back and won. And then King, Michael King, right now, he going to the All-Star game, and he can make a lot of money in free agency, even though he has a deal for next year. It's a mutual option. I'm sure he's going to opt out of that the way he's pitching right now. But Michael King will be making his 7th start. Last time out, tough luck loser to Tampa Bay, 1-0. He was outstanding that night. 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 run. It was unearned, a walk, and 9 strikeouts. Yandy Diaz lofted a fly ball for a sac fly. That was the only run of the ball game. Tampa Bay beat the Padres 1-0 that night. But a good matchup again at 1:10. And the Padres then will be off tomorrow and then they'll open up a 3-game set in Pittsburgh on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They'll move into Yankee Stadium next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They'll have an off day on the 8th, and then they'll be at Coors Field on the 9th, 10th, the 11th, which is Mother's Day. Colorado, my God, 4-25. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't know if Buddy's going to make it. I really don't. And it's not Buddy's fault. He doesn't have anything. The money they have spent in free agency in Colorado has not been well spent. How's that Chris Bryant deal looking? Oh, my God. I mean, Chris Bryant never plays. And when he does, he's not very good. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, he got old in a hurry. I'm constantly breaking down. Okay, we're going to get out to your questions here shortly. So if you have questions, again, my question today, who's your favorite all-time player? And I want your response on that. I want your thoughts on the Padres last night. If you're going to the game, if you got a bobblehead, if you have an extra bobblehead you want to send me, I'll be more than happy to accept it. Okay, National League West standings. Dodgers, they pounded Miami last night 15-2. Sandy Alcantara, not the same pitcher right now, coming off of Tommy John. He got banged around pretty good. Dodgers won last night 15-2. They out-hit Miami last night 18-9. So they're sitting atop the standings right now at 20-10. Their 4th straight win. The Giants with the loss last night, they're a game back of the Dodgers now at 19-11. Padres still a game and a half back of the Dodgers at 18-11. Arizona 15-14, 4.5 back. And then Colorado 4-25, 15.5 back. A couple of other games yesterday at Citi Field last night. The Mets continue to roll. They're 21-9. They're playing great baseball right now. They defeated Arizona 8-3. And at Coors Field, Atlanta got by Colorado 8-2. Atlanta fighting their way back to the 500 mark almost. They're 14-15 after that dreadful start. And Colorado bringing up the basement. Boy, you know, I got to say this. I don't know how many of you have been to Coors Field. I've been there a few different times. I was there one time when the Padres were playing, and I went there a couple of years ago when my buddy Wynton Bernard broke into the big league series that weekend. Coors Field's really cool. And good ballpark, fun stadium, big stadium. And they're still packing them in for an awful team. Worst team in baseball. They're even worse than the White Sox. The White Sox lost 121 games last year. Right now, Colorado, they're on pace for about 24 victories this year. I mean, that's pathetic. But good baseball fans, they come from all over. I love watching games at Coors Field. I mean, a lot of fun. But Padres right now in 3rd place, a game and a half back of the Dodgers. And by the way, today, we got a lot of afternoon baseball today. Today at Dodger Stadium at 12:10. Interesting matchup. Miami going with right-hander Cal Quantrill, 2-2 and a 7.83. And the Dodgers, they got all kinds of problems. They got Glass now on the IL. They got Snell on the IL. They got, and I'm going to talk about Kershaw here in a minute. But today, Tony Gonsolin, who a few years back went 16-1, and then 2 years ago went 8-5, and he was done because he had Tommy John surgery. Tony Gonsolin is going to take a big league mound this afternoon at 12:10 at Dodger Stadium for the first time in 621 days. In his last outing, it's amazing. I was looking this up. His last outing in the big leagues was back on August 18th, 2023 at Dodger Stadium against the team he's pitching against this afternoon, the Miami Marlins. He went 3 1/3, 8 hits, 10 earned runs, 4 walks, 2 strikeouts, and gave up 5 homers. That was it. They shut him down, and he had Tommy John surgery. 621 days, and he's going back to the mound. I wonder a couple of things. Number one, I'm wondering how he feels going out to that mound. It's got to be pretty emotional, I would think. And how good is he going to be, and how deep will he go into the ball game? Dodgers are hoping he could come back and be close to the old Tony Gonsolin. They got all kinds of problems up there at Dodger Stadium right now. They brought a guy, Matt Sauer, I think it was last night. They brought him up from the minor leagues, ended up coming in relief, and through 5 innings, got his first major league win. They bring guys up from AAA, and they throw 5 innings of good ball. They got a lot of depth. And then the other games today, In Colorado, you got Chris Sale still struggling, 1-2 and a 5.40 going against right-hander Chase Dolliner for Colorado. Dolliner's a pretty good-looking pitcher, but he's 1-3 with a 7.91 ERA. And then later today, Corbin Burns. Now here's the key. This is something to watch for in our National League West. And I don't really worry about the Central, and I really don't worry about the National League East right now. I'm more worried about our division. What are the Padres going to do? And then we'll get a little bit into the wild card as we get deeper into the season. Then we'll start looking at the Central and the East. But right now, I want to look at the West because the Padres are right there. They got to get back on track. Prior to last night, they'd lost 8 of their last 11. Now maybe they can get something rolling. And it looks like, I don't know for sure, but right now it looks like they're going to miss Paul Skeens by a day, which is good. I don't want Padres to have to go against that guy. And the Pirates are okay in their home ballpark, and they got some guys that can pitch, and they'll be a scrappy ball club. They always are against the Padres. Padres have got to play up rather than playing down to some of these bad teams. But Corbin Burns, that's what you got to pay attention to. Corbin Burns, who signed that big money deal with Arizona, he didn't have a win. He's 0-1 with a 4.05 ERA. He'll be making his 6th start. He didn't have a win yet. And this is one of the best pitchers the last 5 or 6 years in baseball. Big money deal to stay in Arizona where he and his wife and kids live. Didn't have a win. And they're counting big on him. And then the Mets are going with a young left-hander, Brandon Waddell. Mets, even though the Mets are 21-9, they got pitching problems. They got guys going down. So that's not good. Okay, let's, before we get to the AAA matchup tonight, let's get to some of your questions out there. And again, who's your favorite baseball player? And I'll take those. So let's get to Coach's Mailbag right now. Bill Dunkel. My favorites are Carew and Puckett. Oh, obviously you're a Minnesota Twin fan. How about Tony Oliva and Harmon Killebrew, huh? Rod Carew. Always enjoyed listening to him talk on hitting. The man of 1,000 stances, kind of like Cal Ripken. But Rod Carew, the other thing about him being a good hitter, he also was a great bunter. Great bunter. And for many years was a hitting coach with the Angels. I think he spent some time with Milwaukee as well. But Rod Carew, one of the great hitters of all time, and Kirby Puckett. I'll tell you what, in 2001, when Dave Winfield went into the Baseball Hall of Fame, that class was Kirby Puckett, Bill Mazeroski, the great second baseman of the Pirates, and Winnie. And I was doing a radio show that week from the Hall of Fame. I did, from Monday through Friday, I did 5 radio shows from the Baseball Hall of Fame. And Kirby Puckett was doing a radio show that week. He had a partner, and I don't know if he was on the whole time, but he was on quite a bit. And he was broadcasting right next to me. And man, that guy, he died far too young, but he always had a smile on his face. And man, a great player. Man, he packed a real wallop. He wasn't a real tall guy, but man, he was a powerful baseball player and part of a couple of championship teams there with the Minnesota Twins. I think they won 2. I know they won 1, but I think they won 2 under Tom Kelly. Great manager, by the way. Those are 2 great ones right there, Bill. Good job on that. Okay, what else we got here today? Camonetti in a landslide. Still wears his jersey to every game. Okay, Jose, let me tell you something about Ken Camonetti. Number one, we know about Ken's problems. We know he died a very tragic death. It's very interesting. I didn't have a lot of conversations with Camonetti. He was a very intense player. But I will tell you this. I will never understand how that man played night in and night out. And I'll tell you what I mean. I spent a lot of time, 96, 97, 98. I had just gotten my first time full-time radio job at 690, and I was on at night. And I think I was on 8 to midnight. And I would go out to the ballpark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I would watch batting practice, hang out with Merv Rettenman. It's where I got to know a lot of guys really, really well. And Camonetti would always come in after most of the guys that hit trudge into the dugout. And 96, remember, that was his MVP year. '97, the Padres were awful. In '98, they got to the World Series, but Camonetti had a good year, but not a great year. He was banged up most of the year. I mean, and this is what I was going to say about Camonetti. I really don't know how he was able to play night in and night out. His body was in shambles physically. And I would watch him after batting practice because I had spent a lot of time with Tony, sitting next to Tony in the clubhouse before. In those games, they started at 7:05. And Eddie, the security guard, would always come in at 6:15 and go, "Hey, coach, it's time to go." That means I had to get out of the clubhouse because I was normally the last guy in the clubhouse because I'd be sitting there talking with Tony, about a variety of different things. And Eddie'd say, "Hey, coach, time to go." "Okay, Eddie, thanks." I go, "Tony, I'll talk to you tomorrow, or I'll see you after the game." Kind of depended. If it was a day game, I'd come down afterwards and I'd do my show at night. But, I'd get out there at 3 o'clock and I'd eat dinner and I'd watch the first inning and then I'd haul tail to 6:90 and I'd be on for 4 hours. So I'd already been at the ballpark since 3 o'clock watching batting practice. So I routinely had 9-hour days with everything I was doing, which wasn't a big deal. But Camonetti, after batting practice, he would come in and he would sit at his little stool or chair in his cubicle and he would face in and he'd put his head down. It was like he was trying to get himself motivated to do the things he needed to do. And he spent a lot of time in the training room. They'd rub him down and stretch him out. And then, he'd sit in his cubicle facing the wall. And then he'd get on the floor and do some stretches. And then, game time, he's putting his game uni on and he's ready to go. And he would do this day after day after day. And I've told people when we've had conversations about Ken, I don't really know how this guy played day in and day out. He had a lot of things going on. And we know, he had like a double life, basically. And it was very unfortunate. But I'll tell you this, when he was with Atlanta, this really affected him. And I went over probably the best conversation I ever had with Ken was when he was with the Atlanta Braves. And he came back to San Diego, and he was at the end of his career. He was just kind of hanging on, and more because his name was Ken Camonetti than what he was producing. And I remember the night before he was announced at Qualcomm Stadium, and he got some boos. That really affected him. And I remember during batting practice the next night, I went over, and I knew it had affected him. And I went over to the Braves dugout, and I said to him, I go, "Ken," I go, "they're not booing you. They're booing the uniform." That really hurt him because San Diego had such a love affair with Ken Camonetti. But that really hurt him. And I mean, he was a tough guy, but he had a tender heart. And I think anybody that you talk to will tell you he was an unbelievable teammate. He was one of those guys that when he wasn't at the ballpark, he probably wasn't happy. But when he was at the ballpark, that was his happy place because he was fighting demons. But I remember, I think it was a Sunday night when it came over the television that he had passed away. And it was just very, very sad. But I respected him as a ball player. He always treated me very well. And again, I didn't have a lot of interactions with him. I spent a lot of time with Tony and Trevor and, some of the other guys, Chris Gomez, Carlos Hernandez, John Flaherty when he was here. But, and Wally Joyner, spent a lot of time talking to Wally. But Camonetti, man, for him to go out and play every night and to play the way he did most of the time, pretty amazing, folks. Really pretty amazing. Okay, thank you very much, Jose. I appreciate that question. Big Sam, good morning, Coach. Again from St. George, Utah. Starting to get hot up here in the desert. I'd like to know your thoughts on Gavin Sheets and if you think he could be a big piece going forward. Yeah, I think right now, going into the game last night, he was 1 for his last 19. And let's see, last night he was 0 for 2. So right now he's 1 for his last 21. And his average now is gone down to 268. I'll tell you what, if he could keep his average at, 260 to 270, that's going to translate in to some runs because he's going to hit with some power. I like what Gavin Sheets has done. I think maybe when they moved him to that cleanup spot and there for a short time, the number 2 spot, maybe trying to do a little bit too much. For me, I would probably like to see him in a perfect world. I would like to see him hit maybe fifth or sixth in the lineup. But right now, because you had some guys out and now that you're getting some guys back, maybe that will change. But I like Gavin Sheets. I was excited about when he came to the Padres during the offseason. The White Sox are awful, and I'm not really sure why they didn't want to hang with Gavin Sheets, but I think it worked out very well for the Padres, and I think it worked out very well for Gavin Sheets because he's getting to work with Victor Rodriguez, who I think is a really fine hitting coach. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. I will tell you this: I think Sheets is better as a DH or an outfielder than he is at first base. He needs a lot of work at first base for me. And now that Arise is back, I don't think Gavin's going to need to really play a whole lot of first base. Okay, Sam, stay cool up there. Stay cool. Okay, Canis Lupus. I don't know. I don't know. I ever say that name right. I don't think. Great show, Coach. My question seems like the team will keep Wade around going forward. Tiros goes to AAA when Merrill's back, which means one of Lockridge or Joe will have to go. Well, I think all of the above. I think Tyler Wade has earned his spot on this ball club. He has been very, very productive. Tirso, I think, goes back to AAA. I also think when Merrill comes back, you're going to have to figure out who's going down. And I think Connor Joe's got to go down. And I don't know when Lockridge is going to come back. But I think Connor Joe, as much as I hate to say that, he hasn't produced. Doesn't have a hit yet. He has a walk the other day, but he hasn't had a hit. And hopefully Merrill's able to come back. I thought it was interesting. You know, Monday, he got 4 at bats down in Arizona, and they told him not to run out of the box. So I just wonder how close he is. I mean, he's swinging the bat, but not running at full strength yet. I wonder when they're going to test that out. But Padres are going to have to make some roster moves. We'll have to wait and see on that. Tell you, the guy that's paying big dividends, and I thought it was a great sign by A.J. Preller, Jose Iglesias. Iglesias last night dropped that little single in for 2 runs last night. Iglesias last night 1 for 4, hitting .279, doing a heck of a job right now. He's a tough out at the plate. He really is, Jose Iglesias. Okay, thank you very much for that question. I love these questions. Casey King. As for my favorite MLB players to watch, it's a tough call, but I'm going with Greg Maddux. And I've even enjoyed watching him when he finished with the Dodgers. Also enjoyed Ricky Henderson, George Brett. Hey, all of the above on that. I like that. Greg Maddux, man, unbelievable. He was a very interesting character off the field. He was a real prankster in the clubhouse. A good guy. But kind of a deviant. He always is pulling things. He's like Brian Giles, always pulling little gags on their teammates in a fun way, and a great teammate. I mean, a great teammate. And of course, we saw him here in San Diego towards the end of his career, but a great teammate. Ricky Henderson, liked Ricky a lot. Good memories of Ricky. He was a funny guy. I remember one night, just before they traded to get Greg Vaughn, and Ricky was on the ball club, and his name was being mentioned, and Ricky ain't going nowhere. Ricky's staying right here as he's hitting balls into a tee. And I was sitting in the dugout, and Ricky's going, yeah, Ricky ain't going nowhere. Ricky, not leaving San Diego. But Ricky ended up getting traded to the Angels. And I remember like a week and a half after he got traded to the Angels, Padres had Ricky Henderson Day. I guess it was just to draw up a few more fans. And he played briefly with the Angels. Then, of course, he came back and played and got his 3,000th hit with the Padres in 2001. In fact, a great trivia question. He got that little bloop double down the right field line for his 3,000th hit. That was last day of the season, and that was also the last game Tony Gwynn ever played. And Tony grounded out, hit a little ball to the left of the mound of the shortstop. Final 6-3 on Tony's last at bat, grounded out to shortstop against the Colorado Rockies. But Casey, thank you very much. And George Brett, I was a big fan of George Brett. Tough, hard-nosed guy from Southern California. One of the great hitters of all time. Big fan of George Brett. Good call by you on all 3 of those guys. Martine, Brooks Robinson. Let me tell you something about Brooks Robinson. It was like in 69 or 70. They had this golf tournament. I was like 12 years old they called it the Astrojet Classic. And they had all kinds of, I got Willie Mays' autograph that day. I got Joe DiMaggio's. I got Darryl LaMonica, the old Raiders quarterback. I got Mickey Mantle's. I got Bob Gibson's. And I got Brooks Robinson. And the thing that I took, number one, Brooks Robinson couldn't have been nicer to this little 12-year-old kid. And I got to tell you about a Bob Gibson story, too. But Brooks Robinson, really nice. He came over to the ropes. It was at La Costa, and he signed my autograph. A little red autograph book that I still have to this day. But here's the key that I found out about Brooks Robinson. A lot of people don't know. He obviously played third base, so he threw right-handed, and he hit right-handed. Brooks Robinson signed autographs left-handed. And I always wondered if that played a part in why he was so good with his glove, because he wrote left-handed. He was ambidextrous. Now, Bill Wendell would probably say he was amphibious, but no, he was ambidextrous. And I thought that was pretty cool. Let me tell you the Bob Gibson story real quick. Okay, even at like 12 years old, I knew the reputation of Bob Gibson of being a tough, hard-nosed guy, and he was. But my brother had taken me out to La Costa, and we were getting ready to leave. It was been a long day. It was like 5 o'clock. And everybody was finished up. It was a Sunday. Everybody was getting ready to, head to the airport, fly out, or spend the night at La Costa, party, and then fly out the next day. So we're on our way out. We're walking to the parking lot, and there's Bob Gibson. And I go, Bill, there's Bob Gibson. I got to get his autograph. So I go up to him, and I go, Mr. Gibson, my name is John Kenera, and I would love to, if you would give me your autograph. So then he had like these box of shoes. He had a bunch of stuff that the tournament had given him. He had like a hanger with some clothes on. He had a shoe box. And he goes, John, I'll tell you what. I got to go out to my car. And if you'll wait here 5 minutes, I'll come back and I'll sign your book. So I kind of thought to myself, well, that's cool. But is he really going to come back? It's Bob Gibson. He may get pulled in 38 different directions between walking away from me to the parking lot and walking back, so, hey, come, let's have a beer, or let's do this or do that. 5 minutes. It wasn't even 5 minutes. He came back. He was, okay, John, where's your book? And I pull out my book. He signs it. But here's the other thing. It wasn't just like he signed my book and handed it to me and he kept walking. He goes, hey, do you play baseball? I go, yeah, I play baseball in Solana Beach. And I don't know if you knew where Solana Beach was. And we held this conversation. He goes, do you pitch? Do you catch? What position? We actually held a conversation. He didn't have to do that. So when I hear all these stories about Bob Gibson being a tough, hard-nosed competitor, I know they're true. But for me, my remembrance of Bob Gibson, nothing but great things. This guy treated me so well for being a little kid. And the other thing that kind of hit home was the year before he had pitched on a Friday night. It was Little League night at San Diego Stadium. And I wore my Hanson surfboard uniform to the game. And Bob Gibson threw a one-hitter that night against the Padres, and the only base hit was to right field, I think it was right field, by Ivan Morel, who was a journeyman outfielder who played for the Padres. And I brought that up. And Gibson thought that was pretty cool that this 12-year-old remembered that he threw a one-hitter and who had the only hit that night. Not that he probably wanted me to mention Ivan Morel. He probably wanted the no-hitter. But he could tell that I really love baseball, even at 12 years old. So my remembrance of Bob Gibson, really good. And Brooks Robinson, again, he wrote left-handed. All right, what else we got here? Let's keep them rolling here. We're having some fun with this today. Hope everyone enjoying the show. Remember, please subscribe. Please like. Would appreciate that. Retod, Gary Templeton, him too. I don't know Tempe. I've met him, but I don't know him. I know his son, Gary Templeton Jr., pretty well. Gary Templeton Jr. for a long time had been working for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's no longer working for them. But Tempe, I remember talking to people in Orange County, and they told me about Gary Templeton. He goes, when Gary Templeton was coming out, I think he went to Santa Ana High School, if I'm not mistaken. When he was coming out, he was a really good football player. This guy was just a great athlete. And they said Gary Templeton had the best bat, the best arm, the best glove and the best legs of anybody in Santa Ana. And he had a great career. You know, what would have been really nice, I would have liked to have really seen him when he was healthy. He was never really healthy. In all the years he played with the Padres, he was playing on bad pins. He had bad legs. His legs went awry on him early, and a lot of it may have been as a young kid playing on that turf in St. Louis. But of course, he was the principal. Everybody thought, man, he coming to the San Diego Padres, and Ozzie Smith, who couldn't hit at all, went to St. Louis, and Ozzie ends up in the Hall of Fame, and Gary Templeton ends up having a really nice major league career, but never really, I don't think, performed the way he would have liked in San Diego. He had good years, but not the years he probably would have liked. But man, he had a really, really solid major league career, Gary Templeton, and he's still around town, and a good guy, a really good guy. Retod, thank you very much. What else we got here? We're rolling today, aren't we? Let's get to Coach's Mailbag, see what we got. And if you've got those questions out there, keep rolling them in. All right, Coach's Mailbag. Michael, good to see Xander get going in a big game against division rivals. Is this the start of an upward trend for him? I would certainly hope so. I don't want to see him hitting the 250s all year, and I want to see some power numbers. I'm not asking for 20 home runs. I'll take 15 home runs. Wouldn't you take 15 home runs? Now, he pulled that one down the line. I want to see him drive one over the left center field wall. I want to see that power get back. And I think more than anything else, he's pressing. Just loosen the hands on the bat a little bit, create a little bit more bat speed, and Xander's going to get going. I'd love to see him come back with another 3-hit game and get on that plane to Pittsburgh with a smile on his face. Like I said, I think this game, and I know it's early in the year, and I don't want to make too much of it, but you got to beat the Giants in your home ballpark. And again, I want to mention that crowd last night. That was a hell of an effort by the fans. 47,345, second largest crowd in Petco Park history, 15th sellout of the year. But I want to see Xander hit 275. He hits 275, I'll take that. And the other thing, I mean, he's hitting some doubles. If he had 40 doubles this year, I'd be happy. 15 homers, 40 doubles, drive in 60 runs. Going to have to get moving on that one. And play a good shutdown shortstop, and I'd be happy. All right, what else we got on Coach's Mailbag today? Home on Pool. Will Petco Park's atmosphere be the difference for the Padres when the season is coming to an end? I think it has been in the past. I go back to 2022. I think the Dodgers, they got wore out by the Padre fans. They thought after the first game here that everybody, or maybe even after the first few innings, everybody would sit in their seat, relax, drink a beer, glass of wine or whatever. Fans never let up. They physically and mentally wore the Dodgers out in 2022. The fan base can do that. This fan base is second to none. It really is. I know the Dodgers average more, but the Dodger fans, they're not as exuberant as Padre fans. You know, Yankee fans, they're just ornery. Philadelphia, they're ornery. They support their team. They make noise. But the Padre fans are just a different breed. They're just a different breed. And because the Padres are doing what they're doing, they're attracting non-traditional baseball fans. Going to Petco Park is the cool thing to do. For many years, like going to a Laker game, you wanted to go to a Laker game because you wanted to be seen. You know, UCLA basketball in their heyday, people would go and stand down on the court before the game would start under one of the baskets where the Bruins were warming up because they would be seen by people, and all of a sudden you look important. It's a real social thing now to go to Padre baseball games and to be able to talk about it at the water cooler the next day. You don't think people all over San Diego today are talking about that game last night and talking about the Tony Gwynn rookie bobblehead that they got and the crowd and the atmosphere? I mean, today, and not only that, I mean, there are people last night that watched that game are probably getting a sore throat and want to try to get to get a ticket to get to the game today. That ballpark on an afternoon ought to be buzzing. I know the kids are still in school. They got another month or so of school to go. But afternoon games, coming off a big win the night before, it's awesome. It's awesome. So I expect another big crowd. I don't expect over 47,000, but I do expect another sellout today. I'd be disappointed. I mean, you're playing the Giants. You're playing Bob Melvin's ball club. Got to fill that place up. What else we got on Coach's Corner? We got any other questions at all? I love these questions. These questions are great. And again, the question that I posed, and if you can't get in now, you can certainly write at the bottom on our YouTube page or on X or on Facebook. And by the way, on Facebook, John Kenera. On X, Coach Kenera 44. Okay, I want to get to AAA. Now, this game was supposed to be last night, but it got rained out in Oklahoma City. What a matchup tonight. Kyle Hart making his first start for El Paso. He's scheduled to start. I don't know if they're going to change things around, but right now he's scheduled to start after the rainout. And then Clayton Kershaw, working his way back to the Dodgers, is scheduled to pitch. And again, the game got rained out, so I expect both these guys to go to the post tonight. I'm going to be monitoring this game tonight for two reasons. Number one, I want to see what Kyle Hart does in his first outing down there. And again, this will be a road outing. You're going to be pitching in Oklahoma City, and we know that Kyle at the big league level on the road has not pitched well. At Petco Park, he's been Warren Spahn, but on the road, he's been a guy that probably should get released. But he's going to get a start tonight going against Clayton Kershaw. Kershaw trying to come back yet again, and the Dodgers are hoping he can go 5 innings tonight. And again, weather permitting, it got rained out last night. So I thought I'd share that with you. And we'll talk more about that on Friday. But Padres, a great win last night. Some great contributions. Great to get Luis Arraez back in the lineup. Jason Heyward was a nice contributor. And we'll see where it goes. I got to mention Colorado here for a minute. Just because my association with Buddy Black and Clint Hurdle, I feel for those guys. I really do. And I know Buddy would say, hey, we got another opportunity today. But when you don't have the players, what are you going to do? I mean, yeah, he's making a lot of money. His career record is going to hell. I don't know. And somebody asked me, everywhere I go, they go, what do you think's going to happen with Buddy? I go, well, I think it really kind of comes down to Buddy. If Buddy wants to see it through the remainder of the year, I think Dick Monfort and the folks there in Colorado will allow him to do that just because they've got an immense amount of respect for him. And he's done some good things there. You know, his first 2 years there, they got into the playoffs as a wild card. And now you think about it, 4-25. They're so far away from even being competitive right now. But, you know, maybe they say, hey, buddy, you know what? They tap him on the shoulder and say, you know what? We know we don't have a chance to win. We don't want to beat you up anymore because I know Buddy takes this to heart, even though every day he'll come out with a great attitude. This wears on you. And Clint Hurdle came in as the hitting coach for the remainder of the year. He didn't want to manage again. Would he take it over for the end of the year if Buddy were to step aside? Yeah, he probably would, but he didn't want to do that long term. Clint Hurdle's doing so many other wonderful things in his life right now. He just wrote a book, got a great family, a great motivator. You know, I'm a big Clint Hurdle fan, as I am a big Buddy Black fan. But to watch these guys having to go through what they're having to go through in Colorado, it's tough. Baseball will bring you to your knees. And I remember Tim Flannery telling me that all the time when we were doing the post-game show back in 2004. This game will bring you to your knees. And you know what? Flan didn't even have to tell me that. I knew that from, you know, being a college player, being a high school and college coach, being a pro scout. It beats you up. It really beats you up. Mentally, you can't sleep at night. And I feel for those guys in Colorado right now, 4-25. My God, they got a chance to go 4-26. Got the Atlanta Braves later today at Coors Field. Okay, Friday, we'll be back in at 9 a.m. and we'll break down today's game, Wednesday's game, and we'll get you ready for the Buccos. Going to be a big 3-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they move into the Yankee Stadium on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Yankees swinging the bat very well. Padres will be off next Thursday. And then the 9th, 10th, and Mother's Day, the 11th, they'll be in Colorado before they come back home. So, again, please subscribe to the channel. Please like. Again, you can follow us on YouTube on Facebook at John Kenera and on X at Coach Kenera 44. Hopefully the Padres can get this second game. We'll have a lot of good things to talk about on Friday. Have a great day. If you're going to the game, have fun, and talk to you Friday morning at 9 a.m. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.